So you think you know how strong Vergil is, right? Well, did you know that the Yamato isn't the most powerful weapon within Devil May Cry? And no, it isn't Devil Sword Dante or Pandora. It's actually the Mirage Edge. And here we will be going over it along with everything else in Vergil's arsenal and just how powerful the Alpha and Omega truly is. Let's get started. Vergil, the son of Sparta, twin brother to Dante and the original Nelo Angelo or the Black Knight. If you aren't aware, Vergil is half demon and half human. With this, he has abilities that normal humans wouldn't have, along with being more powerful than the typical demon. To quickly elaborate on the importance of Vergil's father, Sparta was the general to Mundus, who was the king of the underworld at the time. Sparta was able to take on Mundus' demonic army and Mundus himself. He goes on to defeat them and protect the humans from the forces within the underworld. With being a son of Sparta, Vergil has incredible abilities. These include the ability to heal, super strength, incredible speed, and his demonic abilities, which include his Devil Trigger form and his Sin Devil Trigger form, which we will further explain in a bit. If you have seen my Dante or Nero videos, you have heard this, but the too long didn't read is that Vergil is relative to Dante, who way back before Devil May Cry 3, with peak of combat is relative to Pluto and then later to Mundus, and Vergil's speed goes anywhere as a low ball of massively faster than light to inaccessible speed with the peak of combat feats. So now let's get into the equipment Vergil has. The equipment Vergil has is very minimal in quantity compared to somebody like Dante, but that doesn't stop him from being incredibly powerful. Beowulf. This was a demonic arm that Vergil received in Devil May Cry 3 and empowers Vergil's arms and legs for even more powerful kicks and punches. But did you know this? Beowulf's power is light, and according to the Devil May Cry website, it states that Beowulf's power is immeasurable. So along with how powerful Vergil is himself, will only amplify his ability to unbelievable lengths. The Yamato, Vergil's signature katana that he received from his father Sparta. This weapon is able to create portals to and from the underworld, and even a shard from this sword will do the trick to get you through there. This katana also quite literally cuts space and time as well. It also provided Nero with the power to defeat the Savior when Sanctus had a last-ditch effort at the end of Devil May Cry 4, and within Deadly Fortune, Dante mumbles to himself that he thinks Nero is more powerful than him at this point. Mirage Edge. This weapon is the most powerful weapon in the entire series, and here's why. When looking through Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition weapon files, we see that it's explained that this weapon is essentially Vergils Soul manifested into the shape of this sword. What this means is with peak of combat, assuming the scans are correct, that this weapon itself would be a 9th dimensional power because it's described that every human soul is 9th dimensional. If you aren't aware, for every level of dimensional power, that there is an infinite amount of power separating just something like 6th dimensional to 7th. Then this gets even further exaggerated the higher the power, which in this case is 9D or 9th dimensional. In Devil May Cry 3, Vergil defeated Dante without even using his own Devil Trigger, and had decided not to kill him because he received what he wanted, which was Dante's half of the amulet. In Devil May Cry 1, Vergil defeated Dante again when being controlled by Mundus in his Nelo Angelo armor. Vergil was the Black Angel that Agnes used as his vision for his Alto Angelos in Devil May Cry 4. So in Deadly Fortune, within the Devil May Cry 4 story, we hear back when Sanctus was becoming the Vicar, he meets Vergil about 18 years before the start of the 4th game. Vergil invaded his bedroom looking for information on Sparta, and Sanctus went to attack him but was terrified of Vergil's power, and without even lifting a finger against Sanctus, Sanctus referred to him as a god, the same man that coordinated everything that took place in Devil May Cry 4. In Devil May Cry 5 though, this is where things get pretty crazy for Vergil. At the beginning of the game, Vergil is on the verge of death and is able to grab Nero by his Devil Bringer arm and effortlessly rips it off of Nero. This is the Nero that was empowered by the Yamato, and Dante, like I mentioned, mumbled to himself that he believed Nero to be even more powerful than him, who himself in Devil May Cry 1 fought Nightmare, who was considered powerful enough to destroy the endless underworld and with a tiny bit of help from Trish, was able to send Mundus back in between the worlds, the one that created Nightmare. Now, when Vergil splits into V and Urizen, we got even more crazy feats. Urizen himself was able to defeat Lady, Trish, Nero again, and Dante in quick succession. And then V, as a human with very minimal demonic power, was able to get the likes of Nightmare on his side, the same being I mentioned earlier that has potential to destroy the underworld. Within a month, Urizen uses Lady and Trish as hosts for Artemis and Geryon. Later in the game, they are defeated by Nero and Dante. But V himself comes against 3 metaphysical beings, with Goliath being the third. Metaphysical beings are considered outside of reality, meaning that they are above space and time. To go deeper, these beings are considered weaker than the originals that are defeated by V, Dante, and Nero. Where it's important to note that as Urizen created the original demons, these feats are even crazier, as they are both feats for Vergil to create and defeat these beings. So we do know the story of Dante unlocking his Sin Devil trigger, defeating Urizen, even after consuming a Qlipoth fruit, which is what Mundus himself consumed to propel him to the top of power in the underworld. We also know that Dante, with no difficulty, defeated this super amped up Urizen. Then V was able to combine back with Urizen to restore Vergil in a completely healthy condition. What happens here is something that is important to where I believe Vergil stands in power within the series. So as soon as Vergil returns, Dante charges in at Vergil, they have a small exchange, and then Dante goes in for another charge. Dante is here trying to kill Vergil, but Vergil is using only one hand to simply block Dante, and tells him that he doesn't want to defeat him as he is, and leaves. So with Vergil heading to the top of the Qlipoth Tower, and Dante makes his way up and fights V's familiars, Griffin, Shadow, and Nightmare. And with how much stronger Dante is with his Sin Devil trigger form and Devil Sword Dante, this is even less of an effort than Urizen with the consumed Qlipoth fruit. Then when Vergil and Dante fight, they are at a standstill. The reason I bring this up is because they are both truly equal. Dante goes through the fights he does and confronts Vergil, who, like I said, Vergil could have killed him earlier, but he wanted it to be a fair fight. So while Dante is making his way through the familiars and heading over to Vergil, he's able to recoup his energy until he meets up with Vergil again. Even Griffin knows how weak they are to this form of Dante, and mentions that if Dante struggled even the slightest against the 3 of them, that he stands no chance against Vergil. So with the result of Dante casually defeating them, and that they are unbelievably weaker than the start of Devil May Cry 5 Urizen, who was bodied by Sin Devil trigger of Dante, who even after consuming Qlipoth fruit doesn't close the gap at all. You might as well have Dante sleepwalking while he makes his way to Vergil, who wanted it to be a fair fight. Finally, I do want to note Nero and Vergil do fight at the end, and Nero is able to push Vergil back. However, like I said in my Nero video, this is a heavily weakened Vergil and Dante, as they were both fighting in their Sin Devil trigger forms previously, and were pretty exhausted by the time Nero arrived. This isn't anything against Nero and his amazing potential, but I want to be clear the circumstances that led to this fight going this way. That's all the info I can bring up with Vergil. Hope you liked it, and if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe. We got plenty of videos in the works, and I stream here as well. Appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.